What is going on, Ev Nation? Welcome back to another video. Today, guys, I've got the final Pokemon card market watch of the year and really the final Pokemon market watch in general before the whole PokéRealm channel comes to an end. And today I just want to give you guys an update on where we currently stand in the overall Pokemon market, at least when it relates to modern Pokemon cards. I will touch a little bit on the vintage markets as well, and I really just want to give you guys a pulse on where we currently stand and where things are really heading and the trajectory of the hobby as we move into 2022. Now, it would not be a Pokemon market watch without a talk on supply and demand, so let's go ahead and first jump into supply. So supply for modern Pokemon products is really starting to make a turn for the better, at least for some, not for everybody. Remember in my last video when I was talking about if we started to see just a massive influx of products starting to come back onto the market, starting to get into the hands of resellers, would it actually be a good thing? Would this actually satisfy people, and would this actually satisfy resellers out there? And what we're finding is somewhat of the opposite for many people. Now, here's the big thing that I have noticed above all else. A lot of these fly-by-night operations that started over the course of 2020, people who got on with distributors that were selling out of their apartments, that were selling out of their garages, you're seeing a lot of these operations dry up. And here is why. The biggest thing is that all of these waves that we have been waiting on for Battle Styles, Chilling Reign, Evolving Skies, I mean even Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage, Pokemon has decided that they're not going to space these out anymore. They're basically just going to drop these all at the exact same time. And what you're finding is that a lot of these businesses that were started are low on capital, right? The prices have dropped, they're low on capital. They can't take all of these waves of product. And the ones that are then offloading them onto the secondary market, essentially at cost or at a loss, just to try to save face. And I can tell you right now, a lot of these people who are not taking their allocations from their distributors, they're done. When you do not take your allocations from your distributor one time and you leave those guys on the hook, you are done in their eyes. You will never get the amount of products that you want again, and you're basically starting from the bottom. So a lot of these people that have started businesses for the sole purpose of reselling Pokemon card products, a lot of them are going under, a lot of them are getting out of the hobby. One, because the margins aren't there anymore. The margins that we saw back in 2020 of 40, 50, 60% on sealed products, it's just not there anymore. And that's because products are starting to turn around. Things are starting to get better in the supply chain, and so these products are coming out in mass. Now, with that being said, what we are still witnessing is that products, yes, are coming out in droves, but we still have that wave system. And everything that we're starting to see as we move into 2022 is that we could be moving even more so to a print-to-demand system. And what I mean by print-to-demand is when you put in your numbers for your distributors, what we've had over the last 18 months, 2 years, is that they'll allocate you a certain amount. So if you want 500 boxes, well, maybe you only get 200 or 100. And that's all really based upon your previous 12 months of spending history with them. Print to demand, on the other hand, is whatever numbers you put in is what you're gonna get, right? Barring any unforeseen circumstances, that's basically what you're going to get, which is the way that it existed prior to 2020, prior to the big hype period that we've witnessed, over the last 18 months. So we're starting to move back into that, but all indications still show that we're going to have the wave system. So if you get a total amount of products of, let's say, 500 booster boxes, well, it's still going to be split into 3 waves. So maybe you get 250 and then another 100 and then, another 150, whatever it is. It's still looking as if it's going to be split into waves. But from what we're seeing is that potentially we could have a print-to-demand system as early as Brilliant Star. So as early as February of next year, all resellers could be witnessing a print-to-demand system to where you can get as much Brilliant Stars as you're really asking for. So that's a good sign for a lot of people and not so much of a good sign for others, because the thing that kills a reseller is that you get a ton of products and you don't get the last of those until maybe 3, 4, 5 months later on down the line, when the set has already run its course. There's probably another set out by that point, and so it's stale and people don't want it at that point. And so you're then faced with your last wave of products of selling those at cost or perhaps even at a loss if your consumer base is not willing to take those products. And that is exactly what we're witnessing right now with a lot of these previous waves and a lot of these products that are all dropping at once. And that is one of the big reasons why you're seeing the huge price drops on the secondary market for things like Evolving Skies, for things like Vivid Voltage, Chilling Rain, all of them. It's because a lot of these other resellers, especially the ones that just started over 2020, they're trying to offload and they're trying to get out of the hobby while the getting is still decent. It's not even good. I can't even say good, still decent. And so that's why you're seeing a lot of those prices drop, and that's really what we're looking at as far as supply. Now, on every supply curve, you gotta have demand, right? You have to, in any supply and demand curve, you gotta have the juxtaposition of the two. So for demand, the other big thing that we're witnessing here, and you guys probably noticed this, I don't have to tell you, is that there's been a significant drop in the interest of Pokemon cards. Believe it or not. I mean, if you would have said this last year around this time, people would have thought you were crazy. Pokemon cards, how could it ever fall off the map? It's to the moon. But that's really what we're seeing right now. Now, a lot of that is due to a lot of the macroeconomic factors that we're witnessing right now. The cost of living has gone up. I mean, just check your gas prices, right? Check the cost of goods at your grocery store. A lot of these things are going up, and these are all necessities, right? These are all things that we need to live. Pokemon, on the other hand, is a luxury good. And those are going to be the first things that people decide not to go with in times of hardship. They're going to let go of their Pokemon cards, and they're going to want to focus on putting food on the table. So a lot of that demand has dried up. Also, you know, just the natural course of what we've seen. I mean, like I've told you guys before, I've been in this hobby since 2016. I've seen the ups, I've seen the downs. And really what we're experiencing right now is almost the exact same thing that we saw from 2016 to 2017, but especially 2017 to 2018. It is almost identical, right? And these things always do this. They always go in ebbs and flows. And as we're getting out of the 25th anniversary and we're starting to kind of move on into another chapter of Pokemon, people's natural tendency is that they lose interest. You know, another big factor in this is that tournaments haven't really ramped up that much. Worlds is still postponed until next year. So that whole competitive arena, you really don't have that right now, other than maybe just in your local LGS, people playing together, but not a whole lot of competition going on, which also is leading to a lot of the decrease in interest for Pokemon products. So that's really what we're seeing with demand. The other thing that I want to talk about here with demand is that we're always on the precipice of the next big catalyst, right? So 2016 was the Renaissance period. You guys have heard me refer to it as such. That was the period of time where people discovered Pokemon Go and subsequently discovered their old Pokemon cards. And guess what? Then Evolutions came out, which gave them that nostalgic feeling once again. Interest ramped up for a period of time, and then by about the end of 2017, moving into 2018, things really dropped off the map. The interest overall just really dropped off. Well, guess what? 2020 came around. We had a unique period of time in that people were at home. You had Logan Paul. You had all of this fervor in the Pokemon hobby. That has lasted through 2020, through 2021, about the same period of time. And now that we're moving into 2022, that has certainly waned, much in the same manner that it did previously. Now, with all that being said, I think that demand right now, even with it declining, is still higher than it was in any previous point in Pokemon history, other than maybe the late 90s and early 2000s. So even with that demand going down, there is still so many people who entered the hobby over 2020 that I think that is going to carry it forward, probably right up into the next milestone, the next celebration period, the 30th anniversary for Pokemon. It will probably carry us right into that. But you are going to see a lot less interest in the hobby over 2022. And in all reality, you know, if you look at it, especially for modern Pokemon cards, really speaking about that specifically, if 2020 was the make it year, if 2020 was the make it year and 2021 was the break it year, 2022 is going to be the rebalance year. That is going to be where you start to see things come back down to normal, whether that's prices, whether that's demand, whether that's supply, all of these different things. I think we're going to return to a certain level of normalcy, to what we experienced probably in around 2019. There's still going to be popularity, there's still going to be people gravitating towards Pokemon, but we are going to return to that, that equilibrium. So 2020 make it, 2021 break it, 2022 is the rebalance period. So that's what I want to talk about with modern products. Let's go ahead and briefly touch on vintage, just some of my thoughts and what I'm seeing in that particular arena. First off, I think that 2022, we're going to see a lot of big opportunities in the graded card world. So for all of those slabs that are going to be coming back from PSA and entering into the secondary market, which I think is going to be a massive deluge. I think a lot of cards are still yet to come. And if you just ask James Carson, aka Z&G Emporium, he will tell you that he is completely backlogged still with all of the PSA returns. So you're going to see a lot of those come out in 2022. And when that hits the scene, I think that supply will probably overtake demand. And so you're going to see a lot of those graded slabs, especially lower tier slabs, especially cards that were graded very heavily from 2020 and 2021. You're going to see those prices come down a lot. I'm thinking, you know, base set unlimited, PSA 8s, PSA 9s, unlimited jungle, Team Rocket, Fossil, a lot of those cards in 9s or lower. You're going to see a significant price decrease on those. Now, that's not to say that they're not going to come up over time, and that's why I say that there's an opportunity here to really buy these at probably the lowest price that they will be since 2019. So I would definitely keep an eye out over 2022 on graded cards, especially if you've been looking to pick up a lot of vintage products. When you start getting back into first edition cards, you start getting into cards that are extremely rare, you know, ultimate rarity. Think trophy cards, you know, first edition, base set Charizard, Venusaur, Blastoise, you know, EX Deoxys, Expedition, Aquapolis, these type of cards, first edition, you know, these are going to be, I think, just fine. They're probably going to hit an equilibrium or a plateau, but I think you'll still see a steady increase on those cards because I just don't think there is that much supply to really outweigh the demand for those extremely rare type of cards. So if you're looking to put your money into something that is more conservative, you're probably going to want to go with that much higher price point because you're going to see less fluctuation in those cards over the course of this year. But if you're looking for more of a value investing type of approach, then I would definitely look at the lower tier cards, cards that are very popular, things that people were finding in their closets over 2020. You know, your mom, your dad, your grandma, everybody knew about these cards and they were pulling them out of their closets and they were sending them into PSA because the grading costs were so cheap, especially if you were going with somebody like Graded Gem, rest in peace. Your costs were even lower. So those are the type of things that I would see big price decreases on. The other one would be modern graded slabs, especially like full art cards, things like that. I think those are going to hit rock bottom over 2022. So it's hard to say what the future is going to hold on those ultra modern type of cards, things that were just, you know, submitted because the grading costs were so cheap. I don't know what the long-term potential of those might be. just because of the massive supply that people were sending in. But the other thing that I want to touch on here is that PSA, like if you've been waiting to get your cards graded because the price has been so expensive, $150 per card over the last 6 months with PSA. We're already starting to see the prices come down. PSA has announced they're going to go down to $100, and I think that over the course of 2022, we're going to see those come down even more. Are we eventually going to reach a point where we get back to $20 economy pricing? I don't know. You know, maybe by the time we get to 2023, but I don't know about next year. I think that we'll probably hit a point next year where we're looking at about probably $39.99, maybe even $29.99, you know, $30 a card to send it into PSA. So if you've been waiting, I think that next year will probably be a good period of time. And that probably goes for CGC as well as Beckett. I think you're going to see a lot of those services open back up probably around maybe second quarter, third quarter of next year. So if you've been waiting on that, that's probably going to be the best time to start sending your cards in. But if you're in no hurry, you've got some cards that you want to sit on, wait for those costs to come down even more, then probably late next year to early 2023 is probably going to be your best bet. So guys, that is going to do it for today's market chat. Things have changed, you know, and they've changed pretty dang quickly over these last few months, and I didn't expect it to change this fast. I don't think anybody did, but that's really the nature of what we've witnessed over these last 18 months, really starting in 2020. Things that we thought we were giving a much longer time horizon on were much shorter than we had anticipated, and it's no exception here. There's a lot of pros to what we're seeing. I think that for the collectors out there, for the hobby in general, you're going to see a lot more products out on store shelves. It's going to hurt a lot of resellers, but those that have been through this thick and thin, you know, people like myself, businesses like PokéRealm, a lot of the other big name stores that you see here on YouTube, they're going to be just fine because they've weathered all of these situations. But then a lot of the fly-by-nights, a lot of the noobs into the hobby, unfortunately, you're going to see a lot of those go by the wayside. And again, it's just always important to make sure that you're buying from a reliable source, because this is also a period of time where you can see a lot of nefarious activity. And the last thing that I'll touch on here is it's not just Pokemon, it's all of the other TCGs that we're starting to see a lot more supply come out on, whether that's Digimon, Dragon Ball Super, MetaZoo. You're going to be seeing the second edition print runs of both Cryptid Nation and Nightfall. Cryptid Nation might even be this month, and then Nightfall sometime next year. So you're going to see those out probably in your Walmart's, Targets, your LGSs, and the like. So that will be a lot of fun, and that'll be a good testing ground for MetaZoo as well. When you're able to get that product into more people's hands, especially players, I think that will be the true testing point of the long-term viability of that particular hobby. So it should be a great year for some, not so good for others, but hey, that's the nature of the beast, and that's what makes it so interesting and so much fun to navigate, no pun intended. Other than that, guys, I will see you all next time. My name is PokéNav. I'm here to help you navigate the world of Pokemon, one video at a time, and I will see you all in the next video.